As Mark Baker retires after leading AOPA for more than 11 years, he reflects on a long list of milestone achievements. AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today. I'm Kollin Stagnito, and I'm joined today by AOPA President and CEO Mark Baker, but not for long. In a few days, you're going to be retiring from AOPA.
Well, I'm going to be retiring from AOPA, but it'll never be very far from my heart. I love AOPA. I love our members. I love general aviation. So while I may be going to the sidelines, I'm not going away.
Well, Mark, you've achieved so much over these last 11 years with AOPA and for general aviation. What do you think is your very biggest achievement?
Well, certainly, from our members' perspective, and that's what I believe I always got up every day to work for, is our members. The basic med, and seeing now nearly 80,000 people qualified to fly basic med. Third-class medical reform sat on the shelf for over 40, 50 years and didn't move. And the energy the organization put behind it, I and Jim Kuhn put behind it day in and day out when we decided to make it a priority. It's a very proud moment to have that signed into law in 2017. And again, to have that many people using it really feels very rewarding to see that we could actually make a law, a change in the system, which is hard to do.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what does that take to actually make something like that happen?
Well, thousands of bills get introduced every year, and less than 1% actually become a law, and some of those are just becoming a post office name. So, you compete for a lot of time, but we had to educate, a significant amount of the Congress about what does third-class medical reform look like? What is it? Why do you have to do it? What are the problems? And then our members, really responded to the call to action and wrote letters, made phone calls, did emails to Congress to help them understand this was an urgent issue that they wanted to have done. And so the community came together, all general aviation came together under AOPA's leadership on this one, and got a lot done. And it really took a lot of work to communicate, work through the Senate, through the House. Ultimately, the FAA did a really good job in getting it done early, not just on time, but early. So that was during the Michael Huerta administration. And I'm really happy to see that the safety's not been an issue. All the look backs have said, hey, this is just as good as third class.
Yeah, so some 80,000 pilots qualified to fly under basic med.
Yeah.
And more every
day, every week. And now we have the expansion of basic med. Part of the reauthorization this year, we enlarged it to 12,500 pound airplanes, now up to 6 passengers in the airplane. I think it will continue to grow in terms of its acceptance. The one thing I'm disappointed about, we haven't gotten Canada done while it was my term, but we got Bahamas, Mexico, a lot of other countries now accept it, working on an international standard for it. So it has really become an acceptable way to have a medical review with your doctor that is frankly better than the third-class medical in many ways.
Quite an achievement. You said when you first joined AOPA, there was a big issue called privatization happening. Tell us a little bit about your work on that.
So the privatization has been attempted a number of times before, largely on the airline's behalf, to privatize the air traffic control, ATC, and to put that into a separate entity. We've seen that around the rest of the world. It's been a disaster for general aviation, where we lose access and costs go up, and even Canada to the north has this type of system. And it is not healthy for our general aviation activity in this country. So we had to band together, again, all the alphabet groups, our members, everybody else, and had to inform Congress this is not a really good idea. And we had lots of evidence that when you do this, you hurt general aviation. And general aviation is a really important item in our country. It's a million jobs, it's billions of dollars worth of economic value. And importantly, it's a training methods and all the other things that are important to having general aviation be successful. So we had to fight it. We prevailed. The interesting thing was at the very same time we were trying to do basic med, so we had to always be engaged in one thing we wanted, one thing we didn't.
Right. And then you also soon, or at the same time, ADSB and the ADSB mandate was also a big deal. But you were dealing with a lot all at the same time. But
yeah, the ADSB mandate, at the time, was being forced forward to all of our members and all the aircraft owners that you're going to have to install. At the very least at that time was a $6,000 piece before installation. Yeah. So having owned a bunch of $20,000, $30,000 airplanes in my life, it's like people are not going to do that. At that time, we had a quartile of our airplanes are worth less than $30,000. And to get the acceptance, which I believe, by the way, today we all enjoy the value of ADSB from a situational awareness of where traffic is, what weather is. It's a wonderful device, but we needed a lower cost solution. And we also got the FAA to do a rebate on the initial installation. So
right.
it was, stop the presses. We're not going to support this. Had a number of meetings with the FAA administration at that time and said, we're not going to support it. We need an alternative. We got it.
So another initiative that you started very early in your tenure and has just exploded is You Can Fly. Tell us about the genesis of You Can Fly and where it is today.
The genesis, going back 8 or 9 years ago, was there's this whole feeling in the community that, well, maybe kids don't care about aviation. Fundamentally, I didn't believe that. But the pathways weren't very obvious. How you would climb over the airport fence, which exists too many places today, and have access to this wonderful thing we all enjoy called aviation. And I believe that we had to find ways to create the life, kind of a lifestyle way of engaging people away from a rusty pilot, from the flying club, trying to find low-cost ways to enjoy aviation. How do we help people get their ticket a little better and faster? And then most importantly to me was the high school program, out of the box, which was, I think if you give kids an opportunity to access aviation, understand the world of aviation, and how big and broad it plays in the careers or activities, they're going to bite, and they do. We've had now 47 states, and I think we're something north of 1,400 high schools using this program, all provided by donors, which is also part of the work of getting this done. Right. It was raising millions and millions and millions of dollars from our very generous donors to get this program in place, and it really works.
How did you? I don't think, to the best of my knowledge, AOPA has never had a high school curriculum. How did you ever come up with the idea or think that we could achieve such big goals?
Well, that's a really good question. I did take ground school in high school, and I know it changed my life. I know for a fact that I just got the bug at that point in time that I would have otherwise not had. And so I used my own personal experience to say, I know my, vector in life changed because of my thinking and, frankly, keeping your nose clean and getting things done so you can work hard and afford to fly a little bit. And James Ray, who was one of the early and the biggest supporter, was alive at that point in time, World War II guy. And when I explained to him that very essence of it at a bar stool, they put the first $1 million at it, and then we started going down the path of raising the money.
Right. And there's been a match against that
every
over
year.
The years, yeah. Incredible. So you've had these amazing achievements, but there's a lot that you've worked on for years that are ongoing, these initiatives that are ongoing, and I just wanted to get your feeling about where we are in some of these. Unleaded fuel is one.
Unleaded fuel has been one of the most challenging changes that we know we have to face. We have to embrace the idea that there will be no lead in our future, even if it's very low lead right now. It's the right thing to do for the community. It's the right thing to move on beyond that product. It has been a big challenge. Obviously, I've said it a million times, it's been easy, it's been done a long time ago. But I think, putting our shoulder into it and saying, hey, there's got to be a way here. And there are a lot of different interests. I mean, economic interests, and some of the current suppliers of the product and interruptions to that. We've got engine suppliers and aircraft manufacturers. The whole community's got to come together and support it. What I'm proud of from my perspective is we found a donor that gave us a Baron with 2 new engines on it. As you know, we put 200 hours on the thing. I put a couple dozen on it myself. Yeah. With the left engine burning different values of the GAMI fuel.
You notice any difference?
I couldn't tell the difference. So it was fun to fly and it performed really well. And I think for our members, we were trying to demonstrate that we care about the future of a fuel, and that I believe that there is going to be a fuel alternative in the not too distant future, and we need to embrace it. It's clumsy, it's not smooth, but it's really important.
Another topic that we've been discussing for years, and maybe there's some pot of gold toward the end of the rainbow, is insurance. We're not there yet, but tell us a little bit about recent initiatives on insurance.
Yeah, insurance has been a real frustration for what I call our highly experienced pilots. Could call them older if you like.
Senior.
Senior pilots. And, the kind of, we can't see the accident statistics that we track so closely that show that there's any correlation there. Now, insurance companies have not had profitable years in the past. They are having profitable years now. We've seen some really significant movement where at least at some underwriters are doing liability-only policies, which I'm very much in favor of, at least giving the pilot choice of having a liability-only policy, which they may need to rent a hangar, to use an airport in some locations. So we're starting to see some opening of that gate a bit. I think there's some new entrants that have just come on market that are interested in people who are taking the time to be trained well, be recurrent, being serious about staying, proficient. And I don't think they care what age you are. So I think we're starting to see some movement, but it's sure taking a while. And the industry, at the end of the day, I'm not here to defend the insurance underwriters, but it is an economic decision. If they can make enough money, they'll do it. And I think they're seeing that they could do it.
Yeah, fantastic. That work goes on, but it's important, and we want to keep everybody possible flying as long as they possibly can fly.
That's right.
How about Mosaic, the expansion of Mosaic?
Mosaic, is getting very close. It was on the shelf for better part of a half a dozen years, and Larry O'Lew, the last FA person that worked on this thing, pulled it off the shelf, got it re-energized last year, and it appears that it's in the comment periods have been closed, and they're working on all the comments, with some optimism that could be out here by middle of summer next year, which I think will revitalize some manufacturers. I know a number of them working on products that would come into the market under that rule that could be a lot more affordable than we've seen in the past for opening price point aircraft. I think some of the innovation that we've seen, particularly in Europe, on some of these very light airplanes, but let's add a little beef to them, but make them do the performance that we're seeing, and getting those where they could be available to a consumer, I think is pretty darn exciting, on top of retrofitting old airplanes through the Mosaic program.
Absolutely. So Mark, what are you going to miss the most about leading AOPA?
There's no question the aviation community has been important to me before AOPA, really grew during AOPA, and I hope to hold on to a lot of that community that I've accessed and been part of. We have a wonderful community of aviators, and coming together and celebrating aviation is something I plan to do in the future. It's been really important to me, but I know it'll be different because it won't be leading that charge, but I'm going to be supporting that charge.
And is there anything that you would like to say to AOPA members?
The AOPA members have been fantastic. They're very open. They tell you what's on their mind. They tell you what we think we could do better at, and I really appreciate that. And I read all of those, and I talk to them in the airports and at our fly-ins or whatever else we've had. But I really do appreciate our members and their enthusiasm for aviation and really their long-term support for AOPA.
Do you have any advice for incoming President and CEO Darren Pleasance?
Yes, I think he's the right guy for the right time. I'm really excited about Darren's leadership, known him for a while. And, I think my advice to him was make sure you listen first. And I've done that with other CEOs as they moved into different roles, is that, make sure you listen to the people that know the most about the problem or the situation, whether it's the associate employees at the organization or somebody in the government that may know a lot more about this, and learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. And I think he's the right kind of student for that.
Mark, I've worked with you for 6 years, and it's hard to imagine you retiring. What are you going to do after you retire?
Boy, does he sound like my wife now. It's a new frontier for me. I've been fortunate enough to have a really long career, never been unemployed. It's been wonderful. But it'll be 50 years next year that I've picking up a paycheck. And with a few exceptions, I don't think I've taken a couple of weeks off in a row in my life. Yeah. And it's going to be fun to be out there. And we are going to use our aircraft that we have, and we're going to circumnavigate the country. We're going to go visit some people. We're going to go to places we haven't been, which is hard to believe, but there are some places we haven't been. We just flew our helicopter from Minnesota to Florida last week, and that was 16 hours. And people would say, you're not going to be able to do that because it's slow. I loved it. I mean, you're looking down through that bubble and looking at how beautiful our country is, and the different situations and the topography. And I've been flying for a long time and lots of hours. And whether it's my Super Cub or any aircraft that I'm in, I still have a great time. I don't care how fast you're going. It's what can you see and who you meet.
Fantastic. Well, I hope you enjoy. I know you will. And I thank you so much for everything that you and AOPA have done for general aviation under your leadership.
Well, thanks, Kollin. It's been my pleasure, honor. And you know what I really care about is the future. Thanks for this, but it's going to be a great future.